have here the Subaru WRX Wagon. Let's give it a review. The Subaru WRX Wagon was launched in the Philippines in 2022, taking the spot of the previous generation Livorno. It is one of the very few wagons you can get in the local market and is a performance car as well, so let's give it a review. What we have here is the 2024 Subaru WRX Wagon 2.4 GTS CVT, and it's priced at 2,658,000 pesos. Let's first explore the exterior of the Subaru WRX Wagon. Now, Subaru actually makes a sedan version of this car, which is the actual WRX, and as we mentioned earlier, this wagon variant is pretty much the old Livorno. So, in line with that old Livorno nature, this looks a little bit more composed compared to its sedan cousin. So, look at the front of this car. Honestly, not exactly the most modern of styling, not the most cutting edge in terms of looks, but Subaru is known for that. But it's okay, the performance of this car later on will more than make up for it. So you have a big hood scoop here by the top. You have a grille that's, well, honestly a little bit uninspired, but you have LED headlights and DRL. So in that regard, that's the most modern touch that they can give you. Down below too, it's a little bit more subdued compared to the sedan. So all these vents right here, or trims in your fog light assembly, yeah, it's just right there. Let's move towards the side of the WRX Wagon. What you have here is 18-inch rims wrapped in Yokohama Blue Earth tires. That, I think, is a very big difference compared to its sedan cousin, because this one, it's not exactly the most performance-oriented tires. The sedan had, well, much better performance tires. If you look on top too, there is no sunroof. You can only get a sunroof if you get the top-of-the-line TS variant. Now, really on the side of this car, I think what really makes this car the more preferred option for a lot of people is the fact that, at least for this wagon, they didn't give you those weird moldings on your fenders. Personally, I would have loved if Subaru also added it for the wagon, but, well, that's what we have right here. Now, also, in terms of length, this is longer than the sedan version. So if you're into longer vehicles, this is definitely the car for you. But perhaps due also to the lack of those wheel arches right there, those fender moldings, this car is a little bit narrower by around 30 millimeters. Now for the rear of the WRX Wagon, there is a big change compared to the sedan. I know you're gonna say, oh yeah, obviously there is no boot and instead you have a tailgate. No, we get that. That's not my point. Look down below, you only have dual exhaust tips instead of the quad that is found in the sedan. And I think that is very much in line with the more subdued nature of the wagon. A family performance wagon that is. Now, for a lighting assembly and lighting setup, well, these are all LEDs except for your turn signals. And I also like how they have this nice C shape to it. It reminds me of the Forester, and it's nice that it looks good even though it's not a crossover. You also have this very nice like piano black strip that runs the whole width of this. You have a small spoiler on the top as well as a wiper. Now, let's open up this tailgate. And yes, is it powered? Go for the TS variant, that's powered. And in here is the best reason to get a wagon. Look at all the space right here. Well, obviously you can't see it because we have a cover, right? But just slide that open and you have almost 500 liters of space. So it's pretty tall too, so you can really put big luggages in here. In case for some reason you have so much stuff that it doesn't fit, you can even expand this by folding down those rear seats. 40, 20, 40. Now for the interior of the WRX Wagon, and the design in here, I must say that it's not really cutting edge nor avant-garde in any way. It's just a very rudimentary functional design. They did give you some stuff though, which we'll get to later, which makes it a little bit more modern, but honestly, yeah, just like the exterior, it's not really the most modern looking interior. Anyway, the materials in here, not bad actually. So there are some plastics over at the dashboard, but I think the quality is on the okay side. There are still some soft touch padded materials by the center of the dashboard. You even have red stitching right there. And if you look at your door cards too, they are all covered in soft materials. Plus, there's even this like faux carbon fiber trim on it, so it just adds a little bit of a sporty touch. The steering wheel also gets that same red stitching. It's tilt and telescopic. The girth of it is also pretty good, and you have so much buttons here for advanced driver assistance systems, and you even have these like flappy buttons by the bottom part of it, which configures that
configurable screen by the center. We'll show you that in the B-rolls. Anyway, speaking of that, your instrument cluster only has a tiny 4.2-inch screen, which displays the most pertinent driving information, but the rest can be found in this vertical portrait 11.6-inch screen. And this even comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but they are both wired. This is also where you'll find your reverse camera. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with a 360-degree view camera. Now, let's also check out this screen right here. And it's not the easiest to use at first because you don't have physical buttons for your AC. You only have physical buttons for your temperature, which is kind of weird, but that's fine because Subaru did give you some sort of a shortcut down below to control your AC settings. Now, aside from that, there's really not much in here. There's like 2 USB-A ports, you have a 12-volt outlet, you have a regular shifter with an electronic parking brake, and then you just have 2 cup holders. For your seats though, they are pretty nice, very ergonomic feeling, but also very sporty. You have these nice thick bolsters on the side to hold you in place. And what I love about Subaru is you can tilt these headrests like that. That makes it very comfortable, especially on long drives. Power adjustable for the driver's seat too, with 2 setting memory. For your technology in here, you have EyeSight 4.0, so this car can practically drive itself even in low city speeds. And what I love the most about it is that it doesn't even need lane markings. It can easily follow the car in front of you. If it goes in a zigzag, it can also follow it and go in a zigzag. Now for the rear seats, this is where it gets kind of confusing because remember, the car is 30 millimeters narrower compared to its sedan cousin, but also you'd expect the family-oriented performance wagon to be a little bit bigger in terms of space, but really compared to the sedan, this feels exactly the same. Now I am only 5'6" tall and I have pretty good legroom right here. My headroom, that's also pretty good, but it's not exactly the best because the roofline kind of does slope towards the back. But it's nice that they didn't put a panoramic sunroof in here because if they did, that would definitely eat into your headroom. Now, for the materials, it's nice that Subaru didn't cheap out for the rear seat passenger. So what you have in front, those soft touch materials with faux carbon fiber and red stitching too, you also get it here. And you'll never feel hot in here because you have 2 air vents and you have 2 USB-A ports. Now for the storage compartments in here, you have the center armrest that houses your 2 cup holders, and unlike the sedan, they actually give you 2 map pockets on both sides. The sedan only gets 1 on the passenger side. Now, although this car is a little bit on the large side, it's a compact going towards mid-size even, there still isn't the best amount of space for a 3rd passenger because there is a pretty large center tunnel, but it is still more than doable, especially if your journey isn't the longest. And now we're driving the Subaru WRX Wagon, and this car is so comfortable. It really doesn't feel like a WRX at all, and that could be both a good thing and a bad thing. If you're looking for a very performance-oriented car, this isn't the car for you. Maybe you should go for the WRX sedan. But if you're looking for just with a car with enough performance but with also all the practicality, then maybe this car is for you. Now that I have compared this with the sedan, in case you are interested in watching the review on the sedan version of this, just check it out on my other channel, Kyle Young Cars. Anyway, let's talk about the power first inside the WRX Wagon. What you have under the hood is a 2.4-liter flat-4, a boxer engine, making a very respectable 275 horsepower and 350 Newton meters of torque, paired to what Subaru calls a Subaru Performance Transmission. What this is basically a CVT that's tuned a little bit better. No, frankly, it's pretty damn good for a CVT, and this is probably one of the best, if not the best CVT in the market. So this powertrain combination, it really gives you so much power, enough power, at least for the weight of this vehicle, to have a lot of fun when driving. It's pretty responsive in terms of the engine alone, as well as the transmission. It's not jerky. It has some sort of simulated gear shifts as well, so you won't really feel like you're driving an econo box CVT. It's good. 0 to 100 time is just about at the below 7-second mark, which again is more than enough to have a little bit of fun on your daily trips. However, what kind of disappoints me with the WRX Wagon is, as I said, it's a very comfortable car, right? So it's also comfort oriented when it comes to the suspension. It's nowhere near as firm as the WRX sedan, so that translates to a lot of body roll, a lot of lifting on corners. You just can't push this as much as you can push the WRX sedan. But if you compare it to some of the cars in somehow this class, so such as the Honda Civic RS, for example, yeah, it is a little bit firmer than those. So yeah, that also gives you the right to have a little bit more fun with it over bends and corners. The steering inside this car, it's also definitely not performance tuned. You got a couple of drive modes here, right? So you have iIntelligent, that's basically your eco mode. You have S mode, sport mode, but that's actually your normal mode, as well as the S sharp mode. And no matter which mode you put it in, I just find the steering to be a little bit too light. And this is true not only for when you're trying to push it hard, but also when you're driving high speed on the highway. It just lacks a little bit of stability. Not that it's unstable, it's just that I would appreciate a little bit more, not only feedback, but also weight in the wheel. Since we already talked about the driving modes earlier, I just want to bring up one of the driving modes. It's called the Sport Sharp mode, right? The Sport ES setting. And this is a pretty fun setting because it really holds your revs up. And even if you slow down for a bend, for a corner, it will hold your rev such that when you exit that corner, you still have turbo boost. So that's an excellent addition on Subaru's part. Unfortunately though, no matter which mode you put this in as well, I find that there's a lot more throttle delay inside the wagon compared to the sedan WRX. So maybe a little bit of an ECU throttle response tuning could fix that. Quietness in terms of the car, despite being comfort oriented, it's not exactly the most quiet car out there. It could possibly be because of the tires they use here, which are eco tires, these Blue Earth tires. Not really a big fan of them. It does get quite loud in here, and you don't really have to go oh so quickly for you to hear all the road noise on the outside. But thankfully, when it comes to wind noise, I think the car, despite having the not so modern look, is still very aerodynamic. So wind noise is kept to a bare minimum. This brings us on to one of the main selling points of the WRX Wagon, or pretty much any other modern Subaru right now, and that's EyeSight 4.0, the advanced driver assistance system that they have here. And this is probably one of the advanced driver assistance systems that you can currently get in the Philippines, and frankly, it is probably one of the best right now. It's just so easy to use, it feels very safe, it gives you extra reassurance. The adaptive cruise control is very smooth inside the city. It even has this very nice stop and go function. You use it on the highway, it still is very smooth, it's not jerky. And as I mentioned earlier, it has this very cool function of not even requiring lane markings to keep you in the center of the lane. This can easily just follow the car in front of you, so whatever movements that car does, your car, your WRX Wagon, will also do it too, even in low speeds. That is truly an amazing feature. So with all this enough performance and good comfort, what's the fuel economy on the WRX Wagon? Well, it's a pretty respectable 6 kilometers per liter inside the city and about 13 kilometers per liter on the highway. And for a high performance engine, that truly isn't bad. Finally, we forgot to do something that we always do here in the TheAutoPH, and that is the horn test. So let me try it out right now. Yeah, that's the very typical strong Japanese horn. It's not pixelated though, but yeah, I'm a big fan of how it sounds. It could be better, but it could be worse as well. So our final thoughts on the WRX Wagon. Is it a good car? Well, I think that at its price, it's truly a little bit on the premium side, and really I could ask for a little bit more performance as well as handling out of it. But for a wagon, which is very rare in the country, that has, again, enough performance, enough to give you a little bit of fun, I think if you're truly looking for a performance but also comfortable city cruiser and highway cruiser too, then you should definitely consider the Subaru WRX Wagon.